Ladies and gentlemen, BFR is back. It's been a little bit, but you know what? Mods need a break. We always kind of lost motivation after sort of the end of the last one, but you know what? We're alive. We're back. We're better than ever. We got 24 coaches this time around. It's a lot of coaches, especially for one of these power ranking videos. Most I've ever done one of these before is 16, so I expect this video to take quite a while and for me to ramble quite a bit. But I am here to tell you all about the 24 teams and how I have ranked them as far as worst to best. I'm not going to mince words. I'm just telling you that this is just how it is. This is just how I see it. Granted, where I rank stuff is not indicative of how well it's going to be, because I'm not ranking them based on the coaches, I'm ranking based off the teams. A good coach can outcoach a bad team, and just because you have the best team in the league does not mean that you're going to win every game. You have to actually go out and win the games yourself. It's kind of a thing you have to do. But format is 2 divisions of 12, which each had a separate each side separate bands. Each division had every coach ban a Pokemon. So there's like different top tiers banned on each side, as well as for like mid tier Pokemon. One division banned Pelipper and it screwed over the Rain team on that one, but we'll get to that in a minute. But we have 2 divisions, and top 8 from each division make playoffs. Playoffs are separated until the finals, which is mostly for bragging rights more than anything. But that's enough of me rambling for 2 whole minutes. Let's get this party started by looking at probably the worst team. I don't think there's any like god-awful teams that were drafted, but like something has to be last, and Firefalls, I'm sorry. You drafted Petron. I have yet to see Petron ever accomplish anything. Swampert kind of doesn't do much aside from come in, take the hazard damage, take an attack, flip turn, or die. It's doesn't apply a ton of offensive pressure. It doesn't have its own recovery. So like it can take the hits pretty well, but it does nothing back aside from like trying to fling a toxic or maybe set up rocks of its own. Arboliva kind of is pointless. Both divisions banned Rillaboom, so you're not going to see any of that, but it's kind of not super necessary because you got a bunch of flying types on this team that just straight up won't get the benefit, and also you have a bunch of flying types who didn't have a problem with Earthquake to begin with. Like, the only Pokemon on this team that like extremely benefits from this is Ogerpon getting a boost to its Grass Stab, which like it's helpful, but I don't think Ogerpon was necessarily struggling for damage, especially not Ogerpon Hearthflame. Low kicks, big saving grace for this team. Going to be the main reason why it wins a lot of the games that it does. It's a stupid good revenge killer. It can't Terra, but so that like lowers his power a little bit. But you have Sucker Punch and First Impression and a whole bunch of other bug and dark moves it can do with Filter, and it's like a great revenge killer, but like there's no shots to be able to get all 6 kills in the game. It just can't. Jolteon is like 9 times out of 10 gonna be Terra Ice, just because Electric Ice is such good type coverage. So that's just something we get to play around. I think I've kind of covered everything on here. Carbink barely counts as a Pokemon. Iron Crown, honestly, I have no idea what Iron Crown does, so I'm just going to not talk about it. Moving on. Over in the Armorers division, we have Las Vegas Leaves, coached by Maki. They took the Weavile. We made a bit of a mistake in tiering, probably. I think some people would say that, but yeah, we put Weavile at like the highest tier of 18 points. It did not get taken at all in Cerulege. Despite not being banned, it just didn't get taken. So Maki took it, which is like a big commitment because it's probably a reach. Ursaluna is slow and kind of a counterpart to Weavile and Ogerpon. Which you may have noticed, this team has a lot of physical attackers, but the special attacking side is Noivern and Typhlosion. Neither of which are like particularly good. Noivern is just fast, that's what makes it like better, but it has to wear boots more often than not. Same Typhlosion, Typhlosion wants to wear boots as well. And neither of them particularly excel like trying to break through anything with a modicum of special bulk. So if your physical wall has like a decent enough special defense stat, then it will serve just fine to this team. Your hazard setting is Weezing gets Toxic Spikes, Forretress gets Spikes, and Ursaluna gets Rocks. That's it. Also, Ogerpon gets Spikes, but is Ogerpon going to be clicking Spikes every turn? I doubt it. Galarian Weezing just shutting down abilities could be nice. Like, there's some scenarios out there where it's just going to be absolutely instrumental for shutting down something. Little quirk, if Palma goes Terra Electric, it can still do Double Shock every turn, because it will lose like the stab it gets from being base electric type, but because it's still Terra Electric, it can still keep clicking Double Shock. It'll just be a bit lower power because you're not getting the double stab from Terra, you're just getting single stab every time. Which, like, is going to be helpful, but at the same time, it's just a Palma. It's not, like, a super big threat. I didn't even talk about this team defensively. Slowking, Umbreon, Fortress, Weezing, kind of good. I think he's not going to be able to fit all four. This team has, like, a lot of mons that kind of wants to fit. Especially because its removal is Noivern or Fortress is going to bring one of those every week. Neko, you just gotta submit a team name, man. Come on. Anyways, Neko Ferris is 11th in Cerulege. Didn't make a team name, so that's why you're down so low. But they took Slowking Galar, Clefable, or Chalodon as their first three. Which is schnasty. Then picked up Rotom Heat later, who has a lot of tools available to it. As far as offensive goes, like, our Chalodon hits hard, but it's slow, so something you can take advantage of on pretty much every team. Samurott, not necessarily known for the damage, strictly like it deals damage, yes, but it's more known for the hazard stacking. You got a couple Pokemon that like really want Pincurchin to come, but like, can you have Pincurchin come every week? Is the thing. I don't think you can. Toadscruel being screwed over by its ability kind of sucks, but you know what? We're here. Curly Leafeon don't really exist. Leafeon, like, is a very niche Sun abuser, but it's not good enough to be considered on this sort of team without any Sun at all. The Iron Heads, coached by Iger, they just kind of drafted a bunch of shitters. So you have what is, strictly speaking, the most well-rounded team in the competition. The problem is, the most expensive one is Mamoswine, and you have, like, Terra Hydrapple. That's it. Like, there's some other stuff that you, like, kind of have to watch out for, but nothing game-breaking here. If this was a team back in, like, Gen 7 or Gen 6, this would be an absolutely disgusting draft. But we're in Gen 9. Power creep has hit us like a freight train, and so it's just rough. You do have to prep for literally every single Pokemon to come. You have to have an answer for every single one of them, which could be good. And plus, if this team wants to make improvements, they have 11 spare points. They can go out and grab just a couple of improvements. We have like 6 for region transactions, I think. So like, you can take like 6 of these Pokemon and improve them by like 1 or 2 points. There's not a ton of speed here. Kilo, Wattrel is fast. Espeon's kind of fast. Mamoswine is priority Ice Shard. Diancie, the Mega's fast, but we don't. It's not Mega, it's Gen 9. So Diancie's just kind of there. All in all, a nasty team. As far as like, if you prep for a set of 6 Pokemon and like 5 of them don't show up, then you're kind of fucked. But other than that, you're just kind of gonna beat them by virtue of having Pokemon that are just better. Back-to-back Armarouge teams. We have the Twilight Slashers, coached by Crepsicle. There's quite a few new coaches to this league. I've been glossing over most of them just because I haven't done like a video on BFR yet, so YouTube audience doesn't really care. Dragonite Primarina. Primarina as a friend to Dragonite is super good because it takes on the Ice Dragon that Dragonite hates. Fairy, your switch out is Tentacruel, which is also pretty damn good. Iron Crown again. I'm just low on Iron Crown. I just don't know what it does. I'm gonna keep it real. Superior is like the fast thing on this team. And with Contrary Leaf Storm, it just can kind of get going. Hazards for this team are very limited to only Donphan with rocks, I think spikes, and then Tentacruel gets toxic spikes. Removal is like thankfully better. Mandibuzz gets defog, so that'll be super helpful. Donphan is Rapid Spin. Outside of that, hazards are kind of a fucky-wucky, especially for Dragonite, because then you'd have to force to run Boots. Which, to be fair, Dragonite with Boots is amazing, but depends on the matchup. Sometimes you might want something better. But, Terra Glacier is really makes sense just because it's a slow, like, bulky Pokemon, but, like, it's an Ice type. So you don't want to have an Ice type be your defensive Pokemon. So having it not being an Ice type more often than not is great. Farigiraf barely exists in singles. In doubles it has its uses, I know, but in singles it doesn't really matter. Zebstrika just doesn't exist at all. To be honest, I don't even know what Zebstrika does for this team. It's not like it's particularly good at anything. It's a physical electric type, none of them are good. Moving on, more Armarouge. We have the Holland Hive Mind. They took Quagsire, so like that's points in my book. The fact that they're so low despite even drafting Quagsire is shocking to me. Heatran and Skarmory are really fun because they don't share weaknesses. So like they're actually like great defensive synergy for each other. It's really funny. Ogerpon. They have base Ogerpon, so they can have any item on it. They don't have to like be limited to the mask. So that's going to be nice for them. Just being able to hold, like maybe it can be a Scarfer, it can be like a defensive Pokemon, because Ogerpon does get Substitute Leech Seed, Spiky Shield. It can be an annoying piece of shit if it wants to be. Removal on this team, I forgot when I was typing this out. Quaquaval gets Rapid Spin. It's not as Jover as it looks. Does Quaquaval want to click Rapid Spin every time? No, but it does have it. Granted, that still makes it 3 not particularly bulky Pokemon that are going to be working on hazards. Terra Mimikyu, if you play the guessing games right, could be really nasty. Because like it comes with a type that has 3 immunities to begin with. And if you can Terra into something that has completely separate immunities, you can just buy yourself a free turn. Which, like, you're already going to get a free turn because of Disguise. So there's every chance Mimikyu could just get, like, 2 turns instead of, like, a substitute, a couple sword stances, and all of a sudden it's off to the races. Vikavolt Webs, kind of nice for this team. There's a lot of, like, not particularly fast Pokemon. Like, speed is kind of at a premium in this format, I'm noticing. And so Webs are also going to be kind of at a premium to help control the speed, get it on your side. Helps turn Heatran into a much more devastating offensive threat, which it can be. The Scarlet City Shedinja. They went bold. They drafted Sand and Sun. There's not a lot of people that can make 2 weathers work at a time. I mean, it's nice to have both, but you've invested so much resources into both that, like, how do you make it work? Because, like, your Terra Captain's your Sun Abuser. Well, one of your Sun Abusers, Lilligant also counts as a Sun Abuser. And then you spent so many points in the Sand Core, too. But, like, it's really hard to justify bringing both to a team, but then if you don't bring one of them, you have to fill out your roster with something else. Toxapex is going to be hella overworked. It's going to have to take on a lot of stuff, which, like, granted, Pex can do. It's just, it will eventually get overrun. Probably. If it doesn't get overrun, this team's goddamn immortal, but that's just a Pex thing. Let's see. Magnezone for Steel types is a little unnecessary because your main offensive threats are Excadrill, who gets ground coverage. Venusaur has Weather Ball for when it's in the sun. And it also gets Earth Power. Tyranitar gets ground move. Rhyperior, ground move. Ninetales, fire move. Lilligant gets fighting moves. So you don't need to remove steals for this team. Gardevoir for Trace to try to take over something else. But, like, what sort of ability would it take that would be worth? Unless it's like tracing something that traced a rush move, a rush ability. Like if there was a Porygon 2 that took fucking Sandrush from Excadrill, and then you can take Sandrush back onto Gardevoir and work from there. But, like, outside of that, I don't see what purpose it really has. Because, like, you have special attackers, you have physical attackers. It's... Offense was not really required from maybe that slot. Don't forget that Lilligant Hisui gets Defog. It is very sneaky that it gets that. It has saved me some games before. It honestly works really well. Articuno, just mildly unfortunate. And, like, you can't afford to make your Terra Captain with Venusaur right there. Dusclops, like, barely exists. There's probably gonna be some weeks where it comes as, like, defensive coverage alongside Toxapex. But I don't know. Kind of feels like it doesn't serve a purpose, but moving on to Sharpie, the Virginia Vicabolts. He took Hoopa Unbound. So we point and laugh at him. More like, Hoopa! Listen, it's just too slow to take advantage of the fact that it's got fucking massive attacking stats, and it's quad weak to the single best move in the game, in U-turn. So, like, get good. Not only that, he also took Pecharunt, so that's double falling into the trap. There is, like, enough defensive pieces on this team, because, like, there is Pecharunt, for as suspicious as it is, it does have really good physical defense. You got Florges, Glamora for hazards, Gastrodon. But at the same time, you can't really bring all of them every game. Webs, this team would like Webs, especially Hoopa. But that would require bringing Kricketune in this case. Because this guy drafted a goddamn Kricketune. So like if you're able to put up with the fact that you willingly brought a Cricketune to your goddamn fight, then this team can take advantage of webs pretty well. But if the webs go away, so does Cricket's entire point. You're just playing a 5v6. Next up, we have Jeff's Jobbers, drafted by Heffrey. I really didn't say a lot about this team because they drafted Gliscor, Toxapex, Amoonguss. Yes. 2 Regenerators and Poison Heal. This team is purpose-built to switch in and out and just take your hits forever. And it got Ditto for the setup sweepers, so fuck you. Salamence is kind of the biggest offensive threat on this team. Halucha, if it unburdens with Indeedee, can get going. There's like 2 unburden mons for the team, so like this team can go really fast with its back half and then be really stupidly bulky with the front half. Salamence also has Intimidate, but it can also run Moxie, Dragon Dance, and just kind of try to sweep the game from there. Which might be how this team wins. It's just trying to get Salamence to set up a Dragon Dance, kill something, and snowball. Tinkaton is like funny. Gigaton Hammer is just a funny move in general, but it's not like exceptionally great. Ditto here is huge just because, like I said, this team is like susceptible to setup sweepers, and Ditto just copies their stat changes. It's great. Incin, I guess another defensive Pokemon. It's not like as essential as the Gliscor, Toxapex, Amoonguss. Like, it does technically create a Fire, Water, Grass core among your bulky Pokemon. So, if you want to think of it that way, you can. It's probably going to be like the one that's most likely to just be kicked to the curb in favor of something better for any given week, but it's here. Moving on. TM27 Return of the Jedi. Coached by Deegs. In case you haven't noticed, there's been a lot of Armor Rouge. So Deegs like already 6th place, and it's top 8 to make playoffs. Jarvie is projected to make playoffs, according to my rankings. But anyways, back to Deegs. Cinderace, Sandy Shocks, Zapdos, supported by Galvantula, is insane. Defense is mildly sucks. It's just kind of not an issue. Like, Jirachi's bulky, Azumarill, you can build it bulky if you want to. Slowbro exists. Their Terra Captain is Decidueye, which is like, I think a minor mistake, because Decidueye just doesn't do anything, like, regardless of the typing. Like, you can maybe find a turn, but, like, what are you going to do with that turn? It's a Decidueye. This team also took Tyranitar in this division, which it's not horrible, because, like, about half this team doesn't take damage from sand. There's a couple more that also don't mind the sand. In Cinderace and Zapdos, they don't care about their own HP stat unless they're using recoil moves. But, like, there's no prototypical sand abuser, which feels weird, but it makes Tyranitar stupidly bulky on the special defense side, so kinda nice. More Armor Rouge. We have, what the fuck is that? A Galactophorus? Golurk Giants. He got Corviknight, which I will say is very good, because Cerulege banned Corviknight entirely. It was one of the Pokemon that got selected by the coaches to be banned. Scizor also gets the Fog, but like Corviknight is just the best hazard removal in the format. it's stupid how limited the hazard removal is with the Pokemon that we had available. It's crazy, actually. You got rocks from Crick and Swampert, but outside of that, there's not much. Does Shiftry get spikes? It might get spikes, but like that implies bringing a Shiftry, and good luck with that. It is like a little bit top heavy. Shiftry and Dodrio don't particularly serve a purpose. Like, even defensively, there's just no reason for them to be there. Kelly is the only real speedy Pokemon. Salazzle counts as fast, but like, it can also not just try to run corrosion shenanigans and be able to poison literally everything. Zoroark mind games never seem to work as well as you think they will. Just an issue with team preview, and that's just what you're gonna have to deal with. Like, overall, a pretty good team. It's got tools to succeed. It's just a couple Pokemon that wants to take hits don't have recovery. So this is a team that's capable of being worn down overall. Alright. Moving on to the Motown Rev of Rumors. I just like Heatran as a Pokemon. I just think it's really good. Hydreigon's like the biggest offensive threat this team has. It's like show up on the field and you have to do something about it or something will die. But at the same time, it's scared out by Fairy types in general. It does get Flash Cannon, but like at the same time, it's not Stab Flash Cannon, so it might struggle to break through something. Physical attackers on this team are Serena and Jirachi. And Jirachi can sometimes just not be a physical attacker, sometimes it wants to be a support Pokemon. And Serena is like, it's immune to priority, but like that's kind of not enough of a redeeming quality. The support options on this team are great, because like Heatran, kind of a flexible spot, and then you have Screamtail, Tentacruel, Gastrodon, Blissey, Weezing, all kind of available and able to make progress, but not like in the flashy way. It just depends on if they can make enough progress for the Pokemon that can actually kill things to be able to take advantage of it. Which, like, it might be a bit of a tough ask. It's to be a lot of like slower maneuvering games, and if the coach is good at playing them, then they're going to be successful. If the coach doesn't quite have the patience for it, then might be in trouble. Poltergeist as Shell Smash Sweeper, and that's really all it's good for. It's kind of a surprise factor thing. Terra Tornadus is Prankster. With Prankster, it's like, is that the thing that needed Terra on this team? Because it feels like there's maybe some other things that could have used it. Like, I don't know, maybe Blissey or fucking Serena could have used it. There's other things that could have taken that spot, I feel. Like, Tornadus is not, like, the #1 option, I would think, when it comes to that. Oh, we're moving on to the top half of the coaches. We have the Champagne Chandeliers, coached by Billy. He took Clodsire, so congratulations. Points in my book. Iron Treads as a Steel type doesn't like really count as like a prototypical Steel type. It's not like take hits, slow progress sort of thing. It's like offense. This is actually like a really fast team. And it like has just enough bulk to take care of it. Porygon Z, Terra Normal, adaptability, just nuke something. Thwacky and Cloth kind of don't necessarily serve a purpose. Like, you already have a regenerative Pokemon, Cyclizar, so Cloth kind of feels excess goods, unless, like, Cyclizar is just straight up threatened by something like a team with, like, 4 fairies or something. And then Thwacky's grassy terrain doesn't actually feel like it helps this team more than others. Like, it doesn't have a lot of ground Pokemon to take advantage of it, but your ground weaknesses are admittedly pretty manageable. But, you know what? It's there. And, like, there's no real point in not having it just as an option. Maybe you can try to win a terrain war. Arachnoid Webs are going to be kind of helpful for this team. There's a lot of this, like, already very fast. So, like, really all it does is shut down opposing Scarfers. But at the same time, shutting down those Scarfers could be just what something like Keldeo or Iron Treads needs. Alright, we have the Black City... fucking Blissussies. I fucking hated those words coming out of my mouth. Anyways, Flower Power. Had the first pick in Cereal Edge, took Iron Moth, which kind of stated their intent very early. They have a weird team. They have a Snow Core, which they've gone pretty all in on, but that's nice because snow is cheap. Scrafty Terra is great because it's just not a perfect wall because of its typing. Like, it still doesn't have recovery, it still has issues as a wall, but like it not being quad weak to fairy and weak to fighting and all that stuff that comes with its typing is going to be super nice for it. Flapple does not serve a purpose. I think a big issue with this team is that as far as like snow/hail goes, Winter's the only coach I've ever seen to be able to make it work. Everyone else has just struggled and died. So, good luck, Flower Power. Prove me wrong. Hazard situation, you have Azul to set up rocks and explode. You know, bringing back Gen 4. But outside of that, Cloyster gets spikes. And your removal is Defog on a Rotom Frost and a Rapid Spin on Cloyster. That's it. I actually think they got rid of Defog on the Rotom, so I think it's just Cloyster Rapid Spin. If rocks go up, this team is going to die. And that's just kind of how it is. Like, there's pressure to be had for this team, and Snow can be a fun strat to use. It's just so many ice types, and you got Iron Moth as well. It's just your rock weakness is so bad for a team that has barely any removal. Good luck. Next up, we have the Frontier Furrets with Foddy. Lots of bulk on this team. The speed, maybe not necessarily there. Like, Kilowatt was kind of fast. And Blastoise, I think we still allow Shell Smash. It still gets Shell Smash, I think. But look, there's no reason for it to be that high if it didn't. There's a lot of really good Pokemon. It's just a lot of, like, slower, kind of more maneuvering Pokemon, I guess. Or, like, Wall Breakers. Metagross kind of fits that description. If we allowed Baton Pass with stats, Agility Baton Pass Metagross would be nice, but we don't, so sucks to suck. Wheezing is nice. And you have kind of 3 different sort of win conditions. You have Ursaluna getting into position, you have Metagross finding a spot to either set up Agility or just click the Banded Bullet Punch, or you have Salamence clicking Dragon Dance. Those are all game-winning options, and then Blastoise Shell Smash, of course. But, like, it all depends on, like, which one's going to be the easiest to facilitate, and which one you can actually get facilitated. that's going to be the big test for this team as to how successful it will be. Up next is my team, mild rebrand for me. I'm the Skyfaring Skarmory now. Check out my Honkai Star Rail content. But anyways, another team that I took where I just went top heavy. There's a lot of fast threats up there. We have Ogerpon, we have Superior, King Gambit with Sucker Punch, Klefki has Prankster, Floatzel. There's like a mini Rancor here. Floatzel was not allowed to be the Terra Captain. If it was, I would have made it the Terra Captain and just Terra Watered every week, but you know what? We're here. Klefki have an annoying-ass Jack-of-all-trades Pokemon. Superior is a Snowball. Arcanine Hisui is a massive wall breaker. King Gambit, endgame menace extraordinaire. Pelipper is actually here because you'll notice the top 6 have a big old fire and ground weakness, and Pelipper coincidentally solves both. So it's here. Terra Avalugg, nice because, you know, physical wall without being an ice type, always great. It can be like literally any other type ever. We banned like Arena Trap on Dugtrio specifically. We banned Shadow Tag in its entirety. We banned Arena Trap specifically on Dugtrio. So, like, you could have run Diglett or Trapinch, both get Arena Trap, and we allowed them to be trappers. So yes, that Trapinch is allowed to trap things. If it ever comes, it's to be determined. But, like, if it can come in on an electric type, stop an electric move, you know, all of a sudden, that electric type has to break a sash. If it can't do that, it might just be dead, because Trapinch has 100 attack, remember? And Stab Earthquake. Good times. We'll see if I can make this work. I've used several of these Pokemon before. Ogerpon and King Gambit, and Pelipper and Floatzel. And Zapdos. I actually drafted half of my fucking Rain team. Shoutouts to the Yabuto OGs who know. God, what a team. Why did I rate mine higher? I should have rated mine higher. I don't know. Anyways, moving on, we have the Cerulean City Slashers from Eon. Primaria Skarmory is Schnasty as a defensive combo. The problem is they're both weak to electric, so you want either Hydrapple to be its normal typing, or you want to bring Crook. Which feasibly neither of them are like particularly hard brings. Like, both of them will fit on most teams, but, like, it's like a mild restriction, and it can be especially painful for Hydrapple. Just because a couple times it'll want a Terra and do something different, but then that means they can't necessarily take the electric moves. Took a Lecky, so you don't have to worry about, like, that coming in and running over your walls. Lecky is, like, walled by every ground type ever, but you know what? It's just kind of something you have to work on. You have Hydrapple to threaten the grounds. You also have Dondozo to threaten the grounds. Fez and Dippity can just kind of come in, come out, roost. Multi-hit moves, spread poison. It's kind of a bastard to fight, but it can make progress. The bottom two, I don't know how often they come. Flamigo and Regigigas. Regigigas almost certainly doesn't come, just because there's no real way to enable it in singles. Like, it's a niche pick already in doubles, and singles it's just kind of bad. And not just kind of, I mean really bad. But then Flamigo has its moments. It has Scrappy, so it can hit ghost types. And it's immune to Intimidate. It has pretty decent stats. And there's going to be some matches where it shows up. It's just not going to be an every week Pokemon. Fortunately for hazard control on this team, you have Mousehold, and you have Regieleki, who can Rapid Spin, which is great. Hazard setting, Skarmory. Just Skarmory. Just Skarmory things, really. Alright, we're over 2/3 of the way there, which like is pretty good pace. It's gonna be like an hour-long video from the looks of it. Up next, we have the Belgian Red Darmanitans. He had the first pick in Armor Rouge, and he took Terrapagos. So we'll see how he makes use of that. Also, side note, the last time Coach Papa had a Sylveon, from what I remember, it didn't die all year. So, good luck us. Zarude? What does it do? I don't even realize. It's like 13 points. It has to accomplish something, but it's just quad weak to U-turn. Like, I just think U-turn is too good of a move to have a Pokemon that's like stupidly weak to it. Like this team has stuff to take it, to take a U-turn, but like just having that hole in your team can make it hard to switch. One, switches a route in, and two, once the route's in there, if something's threatening it with U-turn, you have to swing it out in order to save it, which leads to something else taking the chip from the U-turn. And like eventually that will add up. Goodra doesn't have recovery. Quillfish doesn't have recovery. Magnezone doesn't have recovery. Speaking of Magnezone, this team actually kind of likes Magnezone a lot. Doesn't really have any great ground breakers or steel breakers. Like Talonflame gets fire moves, but it's not necessarily strong. And then Sandslash is a Sandslash. Nice try. Also, when I was doing that removal bit over on the right, I forgot to take into account Terrapagos does get Rapid Spin, so never mind. Removal is probably fine. Of course, the thing is, wanting Terrapagos to run Rapid Spin, hit or miss. It depends. Quillfish can get hazards up. It may not be the most reliable coming to every game. Cleavor can get rocks up way more consistently. Quillfish just feels like excess goods, if anything. Arachnid Webs could be nice. Maybe for Zarude? It seems to have like a real speedster, to be honest. It's like Talonflame's fast. It doesn't do enough with that speed though to like actively threaten stuff. So Webs could be nice to enable a Goodra or Zarude or Terrapagos. If Terrapagos doesn't need to like set up speed, then that just means it can run more coverage. Alright, the New York Sleepers, coached by Radlup, are next at 6. Once again, someone fell for the Hoopla. I've already mentioned why I hate this Pokemon before. Fortunately, this is a good team around it. Also, second straight team that has Talonflame and Goodra, supported by a good web setter. Once again, slow team that relies on webs to be fast. So teams good at removing hazards are going to eat this one alive. Garchomp is really good. Like, Cerulege banned Gliscor, so Garchomp is like the next best thing at setting hazards. And plus, since this is like mildly lower power level, it might be able to still exert offensive pressure. Shaman gets to Terra into something else. What that something else will be is like a very good question for any given week. Because like Shaman does have Sea Flare, which is just a bullshit move in general, but giving itself free coverage for whatever it needs to is kind of nice. Garganacl's fallen off. It can't tear it out of rocks, so it's definitely where it should be, but still. If it could tear it, it would be a lot higher. Trust me on that. Cloudster feels like the perfect thing to take advantage of webs. Just run it like it's a slow Pokemon, but like if you get some specs on it and have web support, it's just fucking unstoppable. Fortress Rapid Spin is removal on this team. You also have Talonflame Defog. Fortress is like roll compression if you don't feel like you can fit Garchomp onto a team, or if you're like facing a team with too many ice types. But really, this team is just set up webs, get the slower wall breakers in, because your speed on this team is not fast and powerful enough to take advantage of the speed it has. Alright, next up, second place in Ceruledge. Armor Rouge was a bit top heavy. I'm gonna keep it real. We have Winter with the Raikus. He got both Ribombee and Grimmsnarl, both of which are going to be a pain to deal with. Which is Ribombee so fast, Grimmsnarl is Prankster, screens, webs, status. It's going to be a fucking mess to deal with leads. And then you have a third leading Glimmet, which can lead. As far as like traditional speed, you have Ogerpon. Ribombee's also like fast and can be an offensive threat, but like some weeks you want to just be a web bot. It's as simple as that. There's quite a few Pokemon on the team that can take advantage of Scarves, which is good because didn't quite get a web setter, which like to be fair, I don't blame them. Webs are hard to come by and some teams just prioritize them way more. As far as like breaking through stuff, you have good special options. Chandelure is super powerful, and Thundurus is notoriously a menace. On the physical side, you have Ogerpon and Quaquaval. Not the greatest options. Also, yeah, Eviolite Duraludon is a menace. Bellowetta just exists. It's not like exceptionally good at anything in particular, but like maybe it'll be able to make it work with changing its type up. Vaporeon kind of as a last second wall, because like this team has defensive options, but like none of them can heal. Like Donphan, Duraludon just can't heal themselves. I think the only Pokemon that like gets healing on this team is Ogerpon runs Synthesis. Not gonna happen. So yeah, having Vaporeon to like maybe Wish Patch to stuff could be nice. Also, Donphan is gonna be extremely overworked in hazards. Like Quaquaval does get Rapid Spin, but it's still Donphan having to set up the rocks and or spikes and then try to spin stuff away. Because outside of Donphan, I don't think this team has a ton of removal. I mentioned Quaquaval, I know, but outside of those two, there's nothing. Alright, we have the Golden Goats next, coached by Jace. Alomomola was drafted. Alecki does get wall by grounds, I mentioned that earlier, but like this team has stuff that can take advantage of it. Probably most notably a Terra Shaman. Again. People just hate Shaman being a grass type, I guess. I don't fucking know. This is... If I remember way back towards the beginning, I talked about the team that had like a bunch of like 11, 8, and 9 pointers. This is like a better version of that because you have to prep for all 11 Pokemon. Like, you can maybe discount Gliscor, but at the same time, you really can't. But like, but with this team, there's like stuff that can actually run through you. Like Iron Treads exists. You have Hydreigon. Regieleki, once your ground type is gone. Arcanine. For through your Mienshao is just a mess. Low kicks. This whole team is just full of stuff that can run through you if you give it the chance, which the other team can't necessarily do. We have the top team in Ceruledge already. There's two teams better than it in Armor Rouge, but this is the top team in Ceruledge, in my opinion. This is the Venice Beach Victinis, coached by Dame. Got Gliscor and Sizzler. Really bringing back Gen 4 vibes. What perfect timing, Professor Rowan's Lab by Vanillix Pavilion. Thank you. Anyways. You got Gliscor, the defensive menace that it is. Scizor, the momentum station. I've got Ogerpunk Cornerstone, probably the worst of them. But like, it serves pretty well as a grass type. The rock type, kind of take it or leave it. Volcanion exists. The Scuda is very fast, but like it's not a rain team. So we'll see how well that can work. Porygon is just a fucking menace. Glacier is a Terra captain again. People just don't like having defensive ice types. For some reason, I wonder why. The special attack on this team is just Volcanion. Like, Electrode can try to run through stuff, but like Electric gets walled by literally every dragon type ever. So, good luck. After that, Overquill, good for hazards as well as Gliscor. Like, Gliscor can run every hazard you want it to. So Overquill feels like a little bit excess. Diancie, once again slow. Pretty bulky, but doesn't necessarily have the typing you want for a bulky Pokemon. It's quite weak to fucking Steel, which could be a problem. Like, admittedly, this team has the Scizor that you would not want to have to take on, but like, there's other Steel types out there that you have to worry about. Moving on to the two best teams in the league, both from Armor Rouge. At second, we have Maddie with the Slateport Beach Bangas. Armor Rouge banned Pelipper, which sucks for this team because it means it has to run Politoed. It's a pretty neat take on our rain team, because like, you only have 4 water types. But like, for a team that like is, from the looks of it, so committed to rain, is pretty low. And like, considering that one of those water types is the Politoed you're setting up rain with. Zapdos, like the perfect defensive Pokemon for this core, because it can just run stupidly powerful stabs in Thunder and Hurricane, and just not have to worry about putting any investment in a special attack, and you can just kind of live everything. Volcanion, kind of a mixed bag, because you lose out on your Fire Stab entirely. But like, outside of rain, it's probably one of the better threats in this team. Like, our Archaludon exists outside of rain, but when it has rain, it's honestly super good. Also, why the fuck does our Archaludon have like 85 speed? I hate it. Bronzong essentially gets free heat proof to go with its Levitate. Overquill is the Terra Captain. Can kind of be flexible in its defensive utility. Kadra makes pretty good use of rain still. Azelf, perhaps like the one Pokemon that doesn't particularly thrive in the rain necessarily. Like, it sees no real benefit, but at least it's fast, it can set up rocks, it can U-turn, it can set up rocks again, it can just kind of play that annoying role, which is honestly what this team kind of needs. Jolteon, getting Thunder, nice as always, but where do you bring Jolteon when you have Zapdos? Is my thing. Like, it's faster, that's pretty much it, but speed's not usually an issue on these teams. It might be an issue on this team though, because Swift Swimmers are non-existent. You have Kingdra and Baskia Legion, and we banned Last Respect, so Baskia Legion is nowhere near as big of a threat as you think it should be. Brute Bonnet, I just don't like as quad weak to U-turn. I'm sounding so negative about this, but listen, this is a rain team that got like pretty much everything I would kind of want. There's like maybe a couple of questionable decisions towards the back, but at the same time, you've got 11 Pokemon that can all just come every week. Like, everything's on the table. There's no, like, huge, like, oh, this Pokemon is completely useless. And, like, in the case of, like, 10 of them, they all benefit from having the rain being out. But, like, quite a few of them are still functional Pokemon without the rain. I don't know, it just feels like a great team to try to work with. We're now moving on to the best team. Twerky MZ, coached by Papoon. Listen, all I'm gonna say is that he spent the longest time drafting, so therefore he has to have the best team because he put so much thought into this. In case you don't remember, Iron Moth and Iron Hands were on a team already once. We don't have Tapus available because this isn't Nat Dex, this is a regional Dex format. I probably should have mentioned that at any point in the last fucking hour, but you know what? We're here now. So your best electric terrain setter is Pincurchin. Mild disappointment there, but outside of that, it's not like they necessarily need the terrain. It's just kind of nice for them. Tinglu, kind of a just annoying Pokemon, just like how annoyingly long it took for this team to be drafted. Inteleon, why? Why does it exist? Pincurchin is more valuable to this team. Articuno honestly probably brings more value. Inteleon, like, he's just here for vibes at this point. There is no world where he comes. He doesn't do anything important. Hazards you get from Tinglu, and I think Pincurchin also gets spikes, which is like secondary functionality for it, outside of just setting up Electric Tree and bailing as soon as possible. Volbeat does have Prankster. It does have Prankster. It's like the worst Pokemon in existence to have Prankster, but it exists, and technically, very technically, can function. If it ever shows up to be determined. Brambleghast feels a little out of place, but I don't know. And Articuno just not having the single worst, one of the worst defensive typings in the game is going to be amazing for it. We'll see how Papoon takes advantage of Articuno's like higher stats without having to be shackled by just a shit type. And that's the end. I only have one more slide for you. Sorry, guys. This wasn't an actual tier list. I've duped you. I randomized this entire order before the draft even started. Rankings are fake. Win the games yourself. It's as simple as that. Just do it.